See Fireside Chats. I'm obviously not your host, Brian Searl. Brian contacted me today and said that he is not feeling well and asked me to host. I told him I would be more than happy to, as long as he was expecting this to be his last episode. So we will see how that goes. Luckily, we have Casey joining us here. I thought it might just be me and John, which, hey, you never know what conversations happen with only two people. But yeah, so it looks like everybody else might have a sickness as well. So it's been going around. We'll go ahead and get started today. Our guest is John McMahon, the operations director at Camp Door County RV Resort and Campground. I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself. Let Casey introduce himself. I'll finish up, and then we'll get into it with John.
Great, thanks. So my name is John McMahon, Director of Operations here at Camp Door County. We're a very new campground. We just opened last season, so we're heading into our second season. I have sort of a background in hospitality. We owned a brewery and a couple of restaurants. But this is my first foray into the camping industry, and I actually fell into the business by an unfortunate incident where the original owner passed away before the campground opened, and they needed someone to run the campground, and they asked me to do it. So I'm lucky enough to be here despite the circumstances. So thanks for having me.
Welcome. Casey?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little under the weather here too. I think everyone in my family's had something, but yeah, I'll see how we get through this here. Yeah, Casey Cochran, our VP of Partnerships and Business Development here at CampSpot. Yeah, we're campground reservation software focused on North American campgrounds, and we have a marketplace as well that just helps get visibility to campgrounds, connecting campers with campgrounds. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to chat through whatever you got on the docket here today, Joe.
All right, good seeing you, Casey. I'm Joe Dumig. I am the owner and founder of App My Community. We make mobile apps for RV parks, campgrounds, and resorts to enhance communication and the guest experience. So yeah, good seeing you, Casey. It's been a while. We, for everybody that doesn't know, Casey and I were on the trade show circuit for a long time, and I think both of us have stepped back a little away from that, so we don't get to see each other and hang out as much as we used to. Same with Brian as well. So, well, John, let's go ahead and kind of you got into how you got into this business. Can you tell us a little bit about your park, the number of sites, your camper, who your camper is, and everything about your park?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, the original owner of the campground passed away prior to the opening. And so I was asked to take it over with no camp management background, but I was in high tech for most of my career as a senior executive. And we moved to Door County 33 years ago. I live 2 minutes from the campground. The campground has 77 RV sites. It has 19 modern cottages for glamping, and we have 25 primitive tent sites up on our hill in our in our forest, basically. So our target market is really those that want to be outdoors, to learn outdoors, to participate in education, outdoor education. We have the sustainability clause in our mission statement. So it's really about that person that's not just here to sit in their RV and spend the weekend in their RV. It's about coming to Door County and experiencing the nature that we have to offer. Door County has more shoreline than any county in the United States. We're surrounded by Lake Michigan on the east and the Bay of Green Bay on the west. We have 5 state parks in our county as well. We have the Peninsula State Park is the second largest state park in the state with the highest number of visitors every year. And they have 498 campsites that they sell out before the season starts. They have everything from primitive to RV campsites as well. So there's a big demand for camping in Door County, but we decided to not take just the traditional RV camping. We wanted to include glamping. We wanted to include the primitive. We wanted to offer nature programs, adventure programs. So it's really an experiential camping here. And we only have 20 seasonals. So we prefer the transient camper than the seasonal camper. And so, we've built our programs around that demographic. And we're doing a lot this year that we learned from last year to upgrade the facility and the amenities that really focus on that type of camper experience. The other campgrounds around here are really just general campgrounds. A lot of them are 100% seasonal and not transient at all. So we just felt that there was a niche here, that people are looking for more than what they can get in a traditional campground in a beautiful area.
So what kind of, you said you have your nature and your adventure courses. Can you kind of describe those a little bit for us so we know exactly what you're talking about? Because this show typically focuses on, guest experience. And
Sure.
So sometimes we have a whole episode talking about food. But this sounds like one of the differences that you have is this guest, these courses. So can you walk us through?
Sure. So one of the advantages of being Door County is the type of people that we get such a mixed, diverse amount of people here in the summer that spend time here. So we have a relationship with a mushroom expert. So 3 times this summer, we're going to have a 4A weekend where she takes 24 guests to multiple state parks to forage for mushrooms. She does an education program first, and then we shuttle them out to one of the parks, and then we shuttle them to another park. They come back and they discuss the mushrooms they found, and then they actually have a cooking demonstration on those mushrooms. We also have a naturalist that also focuses on storytelling. So we have 2 programs, one for adults and one for children. So we'll take the children out to parks and out to the beach and to different areas, nature areas in the county. And we try to work on their awareness of their surroundings and what they can learn by just paying attention to their surroundings. Then they come back to the resort, and in the evening, the entire campground is invited to a storytelling session that the kids actually still tell the stories from the day. But they're structured stories. So it's not just, Mary, come up and tell about your day. It is about a specific subject that she chose and what she's learned. So we walk them through that storytelling process. So that's a little bit, and we're building a mountain bike trail here. So on our property. So we host group rides, road biking and mountain trail and gravel rides. We also hold those. We also have stargazing. So we have 2 sessions of stargazing. One of our state parks is an international stargazing dark sky facility. So we have access to astronomers that run that program that come to our facility and also run a stargazing event. And that's really cool because we require all of our campers to turn out all their lights at 9 o'clock on stargazing nights. And we also rent telescopes as well. So
each of these activities that you're discussing, then that's kind of the theme for that week or that weekend.
That's right.
Is these different events that you're putting on.
Right. And so we promote the events through CampSpot and through our website. And our goal is not to have campers who just need a campsite. So when we put it in the events, and we try to block off those dates until we have all the events laid out, so that when you go to book on our property, we want you to book it with intention. So if you're into foraging for mushrooms, we want you to know what dates we're going to forage for mushrooms. Right? If you are bringing kids, we want to show you the options of stargazing, the options of the storytelling. We don't want you to be here and go, oh, you're doing storytelling today. We want intentional guests based on the activities that we offer our guests.
That's pretty neat. Is there go ahead, Zach.
I've got 2 questions for you. one out of all the events that you do each year, is there one that's like a real standout that like it goes live online and you're booked solid in 48 hours, you know, that everybody just raves about?
Yeah, we have.
And then second would be what, because it sounds like you've kind of learned some things. You've done this over the last couple of years. What is something new that you're going to try in 2026? Something that you haven't done before, but you're going to try it out this year.
Well, so that's an interesting question. I'll address the second one first. We've only been open 11 months.
Yeah, Zach missed the intro.
Yeah. So we're brand new.
The call ran a little late.
So almost everything that we're doing this upcoming year is new, not all of it. But the biggest event that we did last year is we host what's called Campgrass Music Festival. So it's a 2-day event where it's all live music. And that sold out immediately. It's also open to the public. And the tickets will be going on sale in March for this year. And the lineup that we have for this year just blows away the lineup from last year. So we've got some partners this year. We're spending a lot of money to get top-notch bands to come in. So that one will sell out the day that we announce it. So that's a big one. We also have a festival downtown that we sell out by January 1st. It's in late August, called Fall Fest. Some people might know it as Fall Down Fest. So we get about 10,000 people in a community that only has 800 full-time residents. And we have parades and activities downtown. And so people need a place to stay. We're about 2 minutes from downtown, and we shuttle people back and forth. But we'll sell out of all of our events this year. The Mushroom Foray is an extra cost, but all the other, like the stargazing, storytelling, that's all included in your experience here. So the majority of the experiences are free to campers. And then your first question, I think I answered both at the same time.
Sounds like it. Casey, do you have any questions?
I was just going to say, I think this is really interesting because I think, overall the big topic that a lot of, discussions has been is, the booking window that's shrinking across the platform. You see a lot of campgrounds moving more towards, trying to find long-term campers as opposed to relying on the transient. I just think this is a really interesting story, piece of property, operator coming into the space, carving out a piece and owning their identity with the land, with the dirt and soil that they have, and then also creating a transient demand around it, right? Not sitting there and saying, I hope people show up, but saying, I'm going to create events based around what what we know as our identity, what we have a passion for, also what our surroundings, it already exists, and then finding unique and creative ways to kind of bring in the type of customer that they want. And I think this is just it's a very well-timed story. And I think it's a very well-timed, explanation of someone's business, because you have a lot of operators right now that aren't thinking along these lines. They're not creating their own identity. They're not doing these things far in advance. And for, a new campground to set up shop and in 11 months have, probably more ideas than you even maybe can execute on, but you're doing them in order and you're doing them, in what makes the most amount of sense, and seeing the success of it. I just think is a refreshing story for the industry in general, that there's a lot of people out there that want to go camping. There's a lot of people that want to be outside. There's a lot of people that want these experiences. You just may need to get creative with and what's bringing them in there. And so in a season, I feel where you're seeing booking window shrinking, you're seeing this kind of nervousness in terms of, what this year is going to hold based on previous years, especially with advanced reservations and things of that sort. I think kind of coming back to this, what's our identity? Who's owning it? Who's executing on it? And based on the dirt and soil that's around us, what are we going to do to maximize it? And I don't know. It's a refreshing take on a campground and RV resort, and that I think a lot of people should listen to and have some positive vibes coming out of.
Thanks. Yeah, you know, Door
Yeah.
County is the busiest, is the #1 travel destination in the Midwest, basically, especially in Wisconsin. And so at Peninsula Park last year, for the last 2 years, they've built 15 miles of new mountain bike trails. And just so happened last year, we housed the company that was actually building those trails. So at the end of the season, we hired them to come back this year and build mountain bike trails on our property. Turns out the same company is building the mountain bike trails for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. So,
Nice.
you know, we invested a nice amount of money. Now, the reason we did that is because the trails are so popular at Peninsula that it's almost getting overcrowded already. So we give people the chance to actually stay on property. And just by staying here, you get access to that mountain bike trail. And you have to pay if you're an outsider to get on our trail. You don't have to at State Park, obviously. So we have the ability to manage how much use that trail gets so that we don't want people to not come here because the trail's too overused. There's too many people here. And we've also built, you know, we've got the cottages, which is our glamping section. We have our traditional RV sites, which you can also put a tent. We can go up to 60 feet in the RV campground. And then we have the primitive sites up on the hill, which are within walking distance to our lodge and our laundry and our showers and everything. But we range from $400 a night to $45 a night. So if you want to be on our property and participate in any of the activities, we're not an exclusive resort where you're going to pay $400 to enjoy it. You could even be paying $45 and enjoy the same amenities as a $400 customer. So we don't want to turn people away at any price range. We have it to where anybody can come within their price range and enjoy what we have to offer. And we did that with intention as well.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, and it's really nice. The kind of with same as Jeremy with Kona, in that, you know, you build out a vision first of what you want the campground to be, and build it. And like Casey said, instead of saying build it and they will come, you kind of create the experience, create the demand in what you're wanting those campers to be, rather than just keep adding the amenities, the same amenities that everyone has, and then expecting to get full. You know, I think that's kind of a really nice way of doing things. Zach?
Yeah, another question I had, and to kind of build on that, or I guess lead into it, you know, I think it's great, and we're seeing that it seems to be kind of a point of conversation that's come up, I think, the last 3 months on this podcast, that every operator that we're talking to is telling us about all these things that they're planning and how intentional it is. And they really are creating the experience that people are coming for. But I think one of the challenges for all operators is, how do you get that out? And so I'm curious, you know, over the last year, what is, from a marketing perspective, like you can plan all these events, everything else. And obviously it sounds like some of these are sort of piggyback to other community events that are widely advertised and widely known. And I think that's always great. You know your area, know what's there, stay in touch with what's going on. I mean, if there is a concert or, you know, a festival or something that's going on in your area, you should know about it, and you should be, you know, catering to that, for sure. But for the things specifically that you guys are doing and creating, what has your approach been in just getting that message out and letting people know, like, hey, we're doing this weekend. If you want to come out and book, this would be a great time to come.
Yeah, that's a good question. We leverage a lot of the tourist organizations in the state, the Wisconsin Tourism Board and Destination Door County. So they both have large websites where they focus on regions of the state. So if you're planning on taking a trip to Door County, you can go to either of those sites and it'll list an event. There'll be a list of the events taking place. So that's one of the areas that we focus on. We have a local newspaper that has subscribers. There's only 13,000 people live in the whole county. 9,000 of those live in a town that's south of Northern Door. So from Northern Door, which is where we are, and we're one of those counties where people joke that if you are visiting the south side of the channel, you're not even in Door County. So Northern Door is where people want to come. So this newspaper is free, and then they send it out to 30,000 people around the United States that have asked for it. So, and we also have a radio station that does for free local events and calendars. We focus on our website, our Instagram, and our Facebook. And we also, we leverage it through CampSpot. We leverage it through RV Living. All of our partners, we leverage it with. We partner with manufacturers, wholesalers that we sell some of the products. For instance, Swift Industries is a bike packing company. They make bike packs for bicycles. And in June, we have a mountain bike or a bike packing weekend that if you ride your bike into our campground, you get a $25 discount on your primitive site. And then we have their products in our facility as well. And that weekend, they allow us to discount their products. And so they help promote that weekend. So we partner with a lot of outside companies as well. When we do our Campground Music Festival, we have 5 local sponsors throughout the county. And so they help us as well in doing the promotion. We do press releases for all of our major events. And we send those out to every area in Wisconsin. I mean, as many names as we have, we put the press release out that these activities are going on. For instance, in the campgrass, all the musicians in the contract, they have to promote it as well. And they have to promote it for a certain amount of time. There has to be a certain amount of images and posts on their site to promote us to their followers. So that kind of leverage really helps us a lot.
Those are all great ideas. I really like the partner aspect, because I know kind of, public entities, that's maybe a little bit bigger presence, but even mom and pop, small time operators, you can still do that.
Sure.
Leveraging those relationships, get to know when your guests stay, what do they want in the morning? They want a really nice coffee, a latte, a cappuccino. Find out where's the 2-3 closest coffee shops. You can go talk to them. Say, hey, we want all of our guests coming to see you in the morning. Is there something we can do together?
And that just happens to be my wife. She actually owns
awesome.
Breakfast Brunch Coffee.
Now we know what the motivation is behind.
That's right.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And we do publish a list when you arrive. We can hand out a list of our favorite places in Northern Door, and it's done by village. And we know everybody. They know we're handing this out. So we've had them come in and say, thank you. We had 10 guests come in this month from the campground, said you sent them our way. So that really helps, So then when we do posters of events, we do a lot of posters for events, then they're willing to put them up and promote them. And that helps a lot, because a lot of our events are open to the public, even if you're not staying here. But we also look at that as saying, I'm staying at Peninsula Park in their campground, and I just saw 3 posters from Camp Door County, which I didn't even know existed. And they're doing stargazing, they're doing mushroom foraging, they have a music festival. So next year, that's where we're staying, and that really helped.
How are you dealing with? It sounds like obviously being new and you're having this big influx of demand. Are you guys? And I didn't look into this ahead of time, so I don't know the answer to this. Are you guys leveraging different dynamic rates based on these events, or are you setting those kind of rates ahead of time? How are you handling that right now?
We set those special weekend rates ahead of time.
Okay.
We haven't turned on dynamic pricing yet, just because we haven't felt the need for it.
Yep.
But we review it every 6 months, and
yep.
my contact at CampSpot, we talk about it all the time. So
Yeah.
I think eventually we will. But what's happened, what we saw in the first year is we have so many people that want to come back and stay in the same place they stayed last year.
Yep.
And sometimes dynamic pricing says that spot's not available, even though that spot is available.
Yeah.
So right now we've just decided to not use it.
No, and it makes total sense. I guess where I was getting at with that, if you're not even using dynamic rates, is one of the things that we've been focused on the last really about 6 months is this concept of occupancy prediction. So basically using your park's historical data to help predict where your occupancy is going to be in as far ahead as possible, and then offer suggested rates based on that, whether it's up or down, right? And so it's interesting when you look at different events and things of that sort, you're assuming a certain amount. Like it's fun and interesting to hear the concept already saying, hey, we're going to throw this event and we know it's going to sold out and we know it's going to sell out, right? We're basing on that. And your rates, how do you start to dial in how to reflect that? And a lot of times you do that based on how quickly things start to sell out, how much more demand is there for the amount of spots that you have. And that's been something that we've been trying to be hyper focused on, is giving park operators as much time to understand where that data is taking them, right? Where those reservations are taking them, and help predict where that occupancy is going to be based on the historical trends, based on current pacing, and based on future pacing, merging that all together in a very simple report that says, hey, we think you're going to be at 80% occupancy on this weekend. Based on being at 80% occupancy, your rates are typically higher when you are. This is a suggested rate. And it's really interesting pairing that around events, because you're not always going to have events on necessarily the same dates. It might be the same holiday weekends, but it's not going to be the same dates. And so that's where we think some of these tools come into play, whereas there's parallels with these events, not necessarily the exact date, right? And paying attention to rates that way. So I was just curious if you guys started to adopt that already or not with some of those events. What would you say your variation in pricing is from like an event weekend, say a standard RV site, right? Whatever you have the most inventory of, what is your variation for an event night versus a standard, maybe let's just say standard weekend night?
Well, it would depend on the event, but let's say the Bluegrass Festival, we do add the cost of the ticket into your rate. Okay. So if you're paying $80, you're going to pay $105 that weekend for that ticket, and that's just built into that rate. Yeah. For the weekend with the foraging, that is separate from your rate. So your rate's going to stay the same. You have to buy separate access to that event. But if you take July 4th, for instance, Labor Day weekends, those, we go from $80 for a back end to $100 for a back end.
Okay.
On our, so like on our primitive camping, we go from $55 to $70 on those weekends. And we add a minimum stay to those as well.
Yep. That makes sense.
Casey, sorry, a side note, I was just curious. It's something I never thought of. Do you, at CampSpot, and you might not be able to tell me if you do you keep track of dates searched that are not booked as well? So, I mean, thinking about it, if you have a full weekend, you can't get any more books, right? It can't book any more than it already is. But if that one weekend is still, people are searching for it every single, all the time, I think that kind of goes into that equation of how much could you be asking for that site for that time period.
Yeah, we would. I mean, CampSpot doesn't per se track that with our booking API, which kind of opens up that ability to kind of manage that entire booking flow on the site. And most of our, kind of a lot of enterprise parks are leveraging that. You would be able to track that very easily on your site, just seeing kind of the demand for those sites and tracking those date searches. Then we are adding, very soon, kind of the cart abandonment aspect of it, with also some additional tracking, measures to be able to see kind of that the volume of searches during those peak times. I would say that those are the I like hearing those stories as opposed to why aren't we getting, enough searches on these dates, right? Having the excess amount of searches and then adjusting, pricing accordingly. But that is one of the things that we're trying to get ahead of is data will tell you the pace of booking many times well in advance. And by getting ahead of that and understanding how much further you're pacing ahead on certain weekends versus others, and where your end rate ended up being, on the highs and the lows. So even what John's talking about here of having different rates on different weekends and even rates that include a ticket, right? I think that's extremely relevant for, something that we're building, because you want to have these extremes in pricing to be able to understand what the cap is in order. So if you have, if it's going to sell out, before getting to dynamic rates, right? Before getting to the point where occupancy gets to 50%, then you increase rates. If you're pacing to get at 50% well in advance, 6 months in advance, 3 months in advance, it may be the trigger to do exactly what John's doing now, is saying our rate's just going to be at 85 now. It's just going to be at 100 because we know we're going to be full. But then there's obviously the next step of that is saying, well, is 110 reasonable? Is 105 on those ones? And on the flip side of that, if you're at 80 and you're not pacing the same way you were, this is a big discussion in the space right now is, does moving your rates down to say $70, does it actually create more bookings? And I think that's something for owner operators to pay very, very close attention to this year, because I think in price sensitive markets or price sensitive areas, does lowering your price actually drive net new reservations? And that's a critical thing, I think, for parks to understand, because the same person that was going to book at $80 is now getting to book at 70 by trying to create additional demand, but is it bringing in net new reservations? And so having access to that data and having that really kind of put together for you and easily laid out to say, okay, the pacing is the same and the pacing's different. You might not want to lower pricing to drive up demand because it might not be driving demand, and understanding that is extremely relevant this year in what some people are seeing as a shrunken booking window, and potentially at least early signs of a little bit less year-over-year demand. So yeah, the answer isn't immediately just to drop prices, because in some cases it will drive demand, right? I mean, some communities does a thing every year with a Black Friday where they do a 50% off. It drives demand, right? They spend a lot of money to push that out, and it does drive demand. But then the flip of that is, well, how much more demand did it drive based on people that were already going to be booking anyways? And that's the game you kind of got to play. But it's one worth playing. It's one worth investigating in to understand, because the last thing you want to see is just prices go down and you have the same amount of occupancy. Then you just sacrifice, 10, 20, 30% of revenue because those people are going to book anyways.
Casey, do you have anyone that you know of that's doing like an early bird pricing? So if you book between January and March, your rates are lower, and then after that, you're just trying to motivate them to book early.
Yeah, you do. We have a lot of that, and we have a lot of parks that will, especially guests that they like, the encouraging them to book, before they leave, and taking advantage of, whether it's the same rate or getting the same site, and encouraging that early adoption, that early commitment. And yeah, you have a lot of parks that, especially like, again, if there's certain sites or certain weekends that are in high demand, certainly taking advantage of that. And I think getting ahead of that, getting ahead of your occupancy and seeing, especially if it's, confirmed revenue and you're not dipping too far in, certainly is a little bit more peace of mind, especially as you're newer and kind of understanding the demand and the trends and the waves. Because the other thing you can't predict in that, like to even double down on the early booking, is you can't predict weather a lot of times, right? So even just getting some of those bookings earlier, getting them on the books, and seeing how the weather plays out, as opposed to the last minute, all of a sudden it looks like it's going to rain in a week. Well, you already have a lot of reservations on. I think can draw that too. So yeah, we see that quite a bit. You're starting to see a little bit more of that now, as again, there's just a lot of fear right now of the booking window shrinking. I'm still very optimistic in terms of how many people will want to go camping, especially as the grounds thaw and, the birds come out and the sun's coming out. People are going to want to get outside. But the fact that you don't have to book in many cases so far in advance to get some spaces that you want, certainly has, owner operators, a little bit, a little more tentative right now.
Mhm.
John, you had talked about the dynamic pricing and people rebooking for the next year. One of the things that you can, obviously can set up is so that you don't allow bookings until 1 year out. And then when they go to rebook, it can still be dynamically priced, right? So as it gets late in the season, but what you could do as your discount is to waive any locking fee that you might have. So if you decided to put a $50 lock fee on or something larger like that, for your rebook, your discount would be waiving it. You get your site, you get it now, and we lock it in. Like I would see that as a pretty nice positive, especially for those rebookings from the next season.
Sure.
Something else I know, I had this discussion in one of the kind of professional development groups that I'm a part of, that a lot of operators have had a lot of success with, is asking for that rebook before they leave your property. Some of them, it's a discount, or we'll waive the booking fee or something like that. But if you're leveraging the text message systems, or even if it's just a little printed placard that you put in a glamping unit or a cabin, or when they come in to check out at the office before they leave, there's a little thing on the register there that's a QR code that they can scan that says, hey, if you book through this code while you're on property, you can save 10% or 15% on your next stay. And the folks I know who are doing it have had some pretty decent success with that. Folks I know who've never done that tried it, were shocked at the immediate response that they got from it. They're like, they just stayed, and like, we're getting 20% of them to agree to a second stay before they leave us.
Right.
So that might be another strategy that you could look at.
Yeah, for sure. I like that idea.
Especially for the parks, the type of parks that don't open up their reservations the prior year. If there's a way, I have no idea, Casey can tell me if there's a way. If there's a way that they can allow for bookings only through that code or only through that link, so those can book for those discounts before how many parks are still doing it where January 1 they open the bookings? Whether or not that's best practice is to be seen. But for the ones that don't, if they can allow people to rebook before then, I think that would be just a good idea, and it's another form of goodwill, because they can't really come in early and book. And so they have to wait until January 1 to book for you for the same weekend that they're there for right now.
And they may forget
that might actually be might be a really good strategy, Joe, to say like, hey, if you're just coming to the website and booking, you got to wait till the booking window opens. But if you're on property and you scan this code that we have in the office, we'll give you access to. I don't know if CampSpot has the ability to do that or not.
What you can do is you can put a cannot book online rule, so it can't be booked online. But if they want to make their reservation while they're there, you can open it up, obviously, to the staff, and they can still make that. Which a lot of parks do, is they say, "Yeah, I'll allow you to," and that's kind of the window you give them, right? And some parks will say, "Hey, we're going live, live to the public, on January 1st, right?" And so that's what's communicated. That's on the site. But then you can have like kind of your network of people that you want to give first dibs to that, and say, so to the public, we're assuming the site's opening up on this date. But realistically, you could send them the booking link that's not on the website, that to certain people that you want to be able to book that. So yeah, there's certainly some ways around there. But John, I'm really intrigued with the idea of what these events and how they'll continue to evolve, and how many people you'll start to see where the event is what, to some extent, intrigues to bring them back, or there's events that it is kind of a one and done thing. Like, it's going to attract new people every single time, right? And to me, like a music festival is going to be, I want to come back to that music festival every year because there's new artists. It's a great time, things of that sort. The mushroom experience might be something that you kind of do once, and that's good, but it's going to continue to draw new people and get new people in the campground. I think that that mindset or that thinking, I think, is brilliant, because it's, again, you always do want to have new reasons for new people to come, and they don't necessarily need to come to that every single year, because then you want that, X amount of more people coming in anyways. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out over this next season as well and beyond.
Yeah, and where we are in our life cycle too. Another point of that is that even if you came that weekend, your first experience at our campground, and it's a one and done, we hope you're going to come back again, not necessarily for that event, but what you saw here on top of the event, you like so much, you're going to come back, or you're going to recommend it to somebody. So that's a part of our marketing effort, is those events. We look at it as saying, just get them in the campground. I know they're going to come back. I know they're going to tell their friends to come back, or they're going to tell their friends about the event. And next year, maybe their friends sign up for that event.
I mean, I love that mindset. It's funny you say that. I'm drawing a correlation to like our early days. And Joe, you probably have a very similar story here, where the mindset kind of when I first kind of started the sales program here at CampSpot was, we just need to get people to see our product, right? If we just get it in front of them, right? If we can just show them the product, I'm very confident they're going to like what they see, and it's going to check a lot of the boxes, and they're going to be fans. And I really like that idea of taking like that idea from like a SaaS product to your park. Like if you get them in here, our staff, our team, and what we've created, they're going to like what they see, and they're going to stay with us. And it might not be the perfect thing for everybody, but for the vast majority of the people, we've created a product that essentially I know is going to resonate well. And I think if owner operators take that mindset, all we need to do is get them here, and then trust me, they'll stay. They're going to have a good time. It's a very, very good practice, I think, because that was our goal from a software company. It still is to some extent. Hopefully, we just get in front of someone and show them it, and I'm pretty confident they'll be happy with the results of it. But yeah, that's really cool to kind of hear from the park side as well.
Yeah, that is, and Casey's exactly right. That's kind of what we strive to do ourselves, is that once we get in front of somebody and they start using it, they stick with us pretty much forever. And so, yeah, that is kind of a neat thing going from the campground perspective. And it's one of those things where if you start with that, the customer service aspect and the guest experience aspect comes first. And when that comes first, you are always going to get those repeat customers, and you're going to get the referrals.
Yeah.
Zach, you got a mega loud keyboard. Got one of the big button ones where
trying to knock out a couple things. I had one little issue that was urgent that I needed to respond to.
No, it's all good. It's always funny because I always tell, typically I can tell what type of computer, if you got a Mac or PC, based on the loudness.
It's the big deal. Yeah. It's almost mechanical.
Yeah, it's awesome. No,
one thing I was thinking about, because John, I know you said that because we've talked about the draw of the special activities, and we've talked about all these different pricing strategies and things. And I know that you said, a lot of these things, they're free, they're open to the public. We hope they camp with us. We hope they stay with us. But, and I know some things like the mushrooms, obviously there's an additional charge for that. Mm-hmm. But that's another thing that we're seeing amongst a lot of different operators is it's okay to charge more for an experience and for some of these things. And people, if it's a great experience, people are more than willing to pay for that. And I think there's different approaches, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Nobody likes to be nickel and dimed. Nobody likes to, I call it like the mini bar model. All the hotel mini bars that God, don't touch anything in there because they're like $10 for 1 ounce. Nobody likes that. So there's got to be that perception of value. And whether it's you raise your rate on that weekend because you're doing the special activity and you need to cover that cost. So, somebody asks, well, how come it's $50 more expensive this weekend than it was last weekend? Well, because we're doing this event this weekend, and that's to cover. So I think it's okay to, not really bury it, but to justify it, right? That, hey, on these special event weekends, because we're doing this other thing, yeah, we're going to be a higher price than normal. But I also think the counter is okay too, to say like, hey, the booking rate is still the same, but we're doing this activity, and so there's a cost per person for that as an add-on. And depending on how it's facilitated, some of those things, mushroom hunt, it's limited to, I don't know, 20, 30 people, whatever you're taking out, I think that's finite. That's easier to just do it as an add-on. Other things, if you're doing it campground wide, maybe just bury it in the cost of whatever, your bookings for that weekend are.
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing I like about that is that's a way to provide incentives to drive those bookings without having to discount your rate.
Yeah.
We'll honor the standard pricing, even though this is a special weekend. You booked in advance, or you booked with us in person, so we're not going to charge you the add-on because you're already there. Everybody wants to drive bookings and increase 80 nights stayed, but nobody likes to have to drop their price in order to do that.
Right. Yeah. And I believe in that mantra as well, is if there's not a charge, there's not a value. But when it comes to the camping, again, I look at almost everything we do as a marketing effort, right? So, we can't guarantee that everybody is going to show up the weekend of the children's storytelling weekend, have kids. So they could argue, well, I don't have kids. Why am I paying, a premium price? So if I just, if I bury it somewhere, which I do, then those people who don't have kids are going to go home and tell their neighbor who's got kids, oh my gosh, we just went to this campground and the kids just had a great time. We saw what they were doing. Their stories were so cute. It was just amazing. We've never had that kind of experience. So we look at that as that's our investment in marketing, is to keep people, word of mouth, talking about us, saying positive things about us, and talk about the uniqueness that we're offering. When we started, I went to our Waco event, which is our campground owners. And it always amazes me that you're trying to have the same amenities as that guy already, or what the other 15 campgrounds have. You're just trying to catch up to those 15. There's no added value to that, in my opinion. You just are just like everybody else. And that's not interesting. To me, it's not interesting. And I think there's a customer base or a target market who also find that not interesting. They're looking for an experience that's different than your standard campground. And that's what we're focused on. That's the intentions of what we're trying to build. And that's why we never have a jump pillow or we don't have a swimming pool. And everybody asks us why we don't have a swimming pool. Well, as a kid, I'd rather go to the beach. And the beach is 2 minutes away from us. So we say no, because the beach is right down the street. You do have a swimming hole. And I don't have the staff. I don't want to have the staff. I don't want to raise my liability insurance to have a swimming pool, because campground A, B, and C they have a swimming pool. Why don't you have one? It just doesn't make sense to me. There's no added value to us being just like everybody else.
Yeah, it's that identity thing. It really is. Like, what's the identity and who's coming in? And, the whole amenity thing is such an interesting thing, because I think for a while, campgrounds in general would just continue to add, wherever there's room and space, we'll knock that down. We'll put a jumping pillow. We'll knock that down. We'll add this. We'll knock that down. We'll add this. Or we got a pool. We need a bigger one. We got a pool. We need a slide. And I think depending on the market, obviously, I think that, that can work, but I think it's really interesting. I think especially the new wave of campers, it's like, what are we going to do when we're there? Right. What's the goal of going there? What's kind of the draw? And yeah, it should be different for each park to some extent. When you guys at first opened, did you guys do some sort of general open house where the public could come through and see the cabins or see the property? Did you guys just kind of open? Obviously, you market it ahead of time, but did you guys do some sort of just generic open house where people can kind of come to?
Yeah, we had a free weekend.
Okay. Yeah,
we just announced, this is the weekend. We opened we had a soft opening one weekend, and then we had a formal opening two weekends later, so that we could learn from our soft weekend what tweaks we have to do. And that hard opening 2 weeks later was free.
Okay.
So obviously we sold it out. We still weren't quite there. I mean, we've added so many things since then, but we got a full house. We had live music. We got to talk to people about what our vision is, what our intention is, what this is going to look like in 5 years. So we got to reach an audience that we wouldn't have otherwise. We might, if we'd opened that weekend up for sale, we might have been 5% occupied because people just know who we were. Yeah. So
it creates a huge buzz, and you got that many exponentially more people talking about it, posting pictures on social media, things of that sort. Yeah, it's definitely a good way to kickstart. So,
and we gave them a discount if they attended the free weekend, and if they booked from that weekend, we gave them a discount for their next stay.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
that, we had those people there. They saw the vision, they liked it, and we had a huge turnout for repeat customers. Kept coming in going, oh, we're at your free weekend. We just loved it. So we're back.
That's great. I got to prep for my next one, so I'm going to jump. But I do have to say, Joe, well done. And I think this meeting has to win best beard of all meetings ever. So,
that's an awesome beard. He's right, man.
It's rare that I get out bearded on a call, but I think John's got me on this.
Yeah, this for sure is the best beard award show. So I know the Camp Spot Awards just came out, but if Brian does his best beard award show, we were gonna, even our low head count, we were gonna win that one.
John's gonna take the cake on that one. Well, Casey, before you get going, you want to just tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, go to campspot.com, or you can just reach out to us. We'd love to connect if you're interested in campground software or interested in listed on the marketplace. But we're around, and it's a busy time of year right now. A lot of parks onboarding and getting set up and the rules and stuff like that. But we're always happy to take time and let's see what's the next show we're going to be at. Joe, you're going to be at, is Florida your next one?
Oh no. I'm going to ACA, American Camp Association, next Tuesday.
Oh yeah,
so
the one in Florida, too, right?
No, that's in San Diego. It's our first foray into summer camps. We do an app for Lair of the Golden Bear, which is Berkeley's alumni camp, and they had great success last year, and so figured we'll try entering that market as well. It's complete overlap, so but different customer base, so that'll be good. But we did as a company, we did 42 last year. And so we'll probably be doing about the same this year. For me, after camp, I think my next one, I'm going to Michigan. I'll be up by you, and then Australia. So and we're going to do one in the UK this year too. So that'll be another interesting thing. So
well, shoot me a text when you're in Michigan. We'll see how far I am. See if we can meet up.
Sounds good. See you, Casey.
I'll see you guys.
Zach, you got anything different to chat about for the last 5 minutes here, and then I'll let you introduce yourself as well as we leave.
Yeah, if anybody needs to find me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, all the socials, I'm out there. I'm with LJA. We specialize in helping people design, build, permit, and title campgrounds, RV parks, glamping resorts, and really any kind of luxury experiential stays. In the last 5 minutes, so this has been one of my talking points on a bunch of the calls I've had over the last week or two. I've got a business partner says I never believe in coincidences, and so when you start hearing the same thing come up over and over and over, maybe it's a thing. In probably 4 times in the last 2.5 weeks, I've had a discussion with somebody about red light therapy. Everything from somebody in an airport to professional settings to non-professional settings. I know we're all kind of tuning into some of these health and wellness things because it pairs really well with outdoor hospitality. And I don't know if it's, still at that level of like the hot tub cold plunge but it's now on my radar because I keep hearing.
I've never even
talk
heard of it.
about it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
out of touch.
And I guess it's not even really new. Maybe it's just new to me, and I'm slow to on the uptick here. But it seems to be kind of going everywhere right now. It's supposed to have a lot of health benefits, good for your skin, good for your kind of circadian rhythm, a good reset, all of that. And it usually gets paired into something else. So, it might be a dinner tent setting that has the red light therapy. It might be a sauna structure that has the red light therapy inside the sauna as an add-on. I don't know how much of a standalone experience it is, but
Is it for eyes, for skin, is it to combat blue light from screens?
I don't know I don't know that much about it. I need to do some more research myself, but that's as a talking point, for the week. That's what I've been throwing out there because I keep hearing everybody talk about it. So maybe it is the next big thing, but you're hearing it here first.
Well, I figured I'll throw out, since Brian's not here, we have not mentioned AI. It hasn't happened, which is a little bit unbelievable. So I assume, and Brian would say, well, that's just not enough. It's not far enough, because obviously I don't think far enough like he does on that. But John, you need to record your story times, and then you can have AI make them into books and sell the books to the families.
There you go. Genius.
that's the Brian tip for you. And again, Brian would end up having you make robots or something like that. I'm just going to go with storybooks.
Great idea.
So
that's a nice
okay,
app.
well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us, John. Thanks, Zach, for coming on. John, where can anybody listening find you?
Yeah, you can find me at John at camp-door.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, website is camp-door.com.
Okay, and then Zach just gave us his info. And then Joe Dimig, Joe at appmycommunity.com. If you ever need an app for your property, you can reach out to us and we can build that for you to enhance your communication and guest experience. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. See you soon.